What if your future was already written, not in stone, not by fate, but by the rhythm of your daily thoughts, the integrity of your intentions, and the sacred structure of your habits? What if everything you've ever longed for, peace, purpose, greatness, love, wasn't waiting at the end of a road, but was waiting inside you for a command? This is not a motivational speech. This is a transmission from one soul to another, a reminder that the life you dream of is not built by chance. It is built by choice, repeated, daily, relentlessly, until the invisible becomes visible, until spirit becomes form. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, taught that the true power of destiny is not held by the stars above, but by the discipline of the soul below. He said, "Spirit is the life, mind is the builder, and the physical is the result." Your life right now is not the sum of your luck. It is the sum of your inner architecture, the things you allow yourself to think, believe, repeat. Discipline is not a punishment. It's not the enemy of freedom. It is the root of all real freedom, because without discipline, the mind is a wild animal. It runs in circles, chases shadows, and flees from every challenge. But when trained, when directed, when anchored in a higher ideal, the mind becomes a bridge, from the eternal to the physical, from vision to reality. Cayce understood this deeply. He didn't just give prophecies, he gave practices. And the core of those practices was simple but profound. Align your daily life with your spiritual ideal. Discipline, then, is not about restriction, it's about alignment. When you live in alignment, you don't need external motivation. You are pulled by purpose. Most people drift because they never declare where they are going. They want more but don't define what more is. They want peace but feed their mind chaos. They want love but abandon themselves every day. And when nothing changes, they blame fate. But fate is not the enemy. Indiscipline is. Every great soul, whether a mystic, a creator, a leader, understood this secret. You do not wait for clarity to act. You act to find clarity. You do not wait for confidence to begin. You begin, and confidence is revealed in the fire of action. And you do not wait for destiny to arrive. You become it. Discipline is destiny in motion. Cayce spoke of karma, not as punishment, but as memory. The soul remembers. It remembers every misuse of will, every abandonment of purpose, every betrayal of the inner voice. But it also remembers your victories, even the small ones. The mornings you rose early, the moments you chose stillness over reaction, the times you said yes to truth when fear was louder. Each choice builds momentum. And that momentum becomes character. And that character shapes the energy field that draws into your life not just random events, but vibrational matches, people, challenges, opportunities that reflect who you are becoming. So ask yourself, what life can you see? Not the one others expect, not the one you've settled for, but the one that flickers like a flame in your imagination. The life that feels like home even though you've never lived it. Can you see it? Now ask the harder question, who must you become to deserve that life? That is where discipline begins. Not in punishment, but in devotion. Devotion to that future. Devotion to that highest version of you. Devotion to the soul's mission that brought you here in the first place. Cayce spoke often of ideals, spiritual ideals. He said that without a declared ideal, the mind will wander, the body will weaken, the emotions will betray you. But with an ideal, love, patience, service, integrity, everything can be organized. Every habit, every thought, every response can be measured against that ideal. Discipline is simply the practice of returning to that ideal again and again when the world pulls you away. And the world will pull. It will offer you comfort when you need challenge. It will sell you distraction when you need focus. It will seduce you with pleasure when you are on the edge of transformation. That's not a conspiracy. That's the test. That's the karma you came here to face. That's the growth you came here to earn. Because nothing real is given. It is earned by choice, by sweat, by spiritual fire. The body must be trained. The emotions must be disciplined. The mind must be mastered. And when they are, when your temple is clear, when your will is pure, then the light within you shines without obstruction. Then you don't just live life. You radiate it, and people will feel it. They won't know why, but they'll be drawn to your presence. Not because you're loud, not because you're perfect, but because your energy is clean. Your words are backed by integrity. Your choices reflect vision. And your life is an echo of inner order. That is the reward of discipline. Not applause, not control, but the peace that comes from being in command of yourself and the power that comes from being in harmony with something greater. You cannot control every event, but you can train your response. You cannot choose the weather of your life, but you can build the shelter of your mindset. You cannot erase the past, but you can rewrite the future, one disciplined moment at a time. There will be resistance. The ego will fight. Old patterns will whisper. You'll want to quit, but that's where you grow. That's where you become. That's where you shed the false skin of who you were and step into the life you were born to build. This is not about perfection. This is about direction. So don't aim for flawless. Aim for faithful. Don't wait to feel like it. Commit before you're ready. Don't worship motivation. Worship consistency. Discipline is not a burden, it is a blessing. Because it tells the universe, I'm ready. I'm ready to carry the dream. I'm ready to build the temple. I'm ready to become what I see. And in that readiness, the doors begin to open. The path begins to clear. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to take the next step. Enough to keep walking. Enough to stay true. Not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. Because the life you can see is not a fantasy. It's a memory of the future, calling you home. What if the universe isn't withholding anything from you? What if it's waiting patiently for you to become someone worthy of the thing you've asked for? Not worthy in the eyes of the world, not deserving by some measure of moral perfection, but ready, internally aligned, spiritually prepared, vibrationally resonant with the life you say you want. This is where discipline becomes sacred, because it is not just about behavior, it is about becoming. Edgar Cayce taught that the soul incarnates again and again, not to suffer, not to win, but to remember, to awaken to its own divine potential. And this potential is not unlocked in moments of ecstasy or chance. It is revealed in the rhythm of your daily life, in what you do when no one is watching, in how you carry yourself through boredom, challenge, repetition. Every discipline you embrace becomes a seed of transformation. Waking early is not about productivity. It's about claiming the first breath of the day for your soul before the world tries to claim it for its noise. Meditation is not about silence. It's about tuning your consciousness to the frequency of source, listening instead of reacting. Writing down your goals is not about achievement. It's about spiritual focus, declaring to the universe what image you are sculpting with your life force. These are not habits, they are ceremonies. And when you perform them daily, you don't just build structure, you create an altar inside your life. Cayce emphasized the importance of intentional living. He said that thought is the builder and spirit is the source. So when your thoughts are scattered, when your attention is hijacked, you are like a carpenter building a cathedral with broken tools. But when your thoughts are disciplined, elevated, pure, focused, the building becomes strong. The temple of your life rises. People ask for miracles, but they forget the greatest miracle is order. When your inner world is in order, not perfect, but purposeful, reality begins to reflect that order. Events align, synchronicities appear. Not because you control the world, but because you have harmonized with the divine design underneath it. This is not metaphysics. This is spiritual law. You cannot receive what you are not structured to hold. Just as a glass must be shaped to contain water, your soul must be disciplined to carry the blessings of your destiny. Imagine being handed the life you dream of, the relationship, the career, the influence, the peace, all at once without preparation, without inner strength. Would you hold it or would it break you? Discipline prepares you for the weight of your own answered prayer. It's not about deprivation, it's about cultivation. You are not being punished, you are being forged. Think of the great mystics, prophets, and leaders. None of them became who they were by accident. They didn't wait for ideal circumstances. They created them, internally, through years of solitude, silence, structure. They mastered themselves long before they influenced the world. Cayce was clear: you must know yourself, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You must integrate all three. You cannot neglect the body and expect spiritual clarity. You cannot indulge chaotic emotion and expect mental strength. You cannot pollute the mind and expect divine vision. Discipline brings all these into unity. It says, I will eat with awareness. I will speak with kindness. I will choose my thoughts. I will not feed the patterns that lead me away from my ideal. This is how you return to yourself. This is how you come home to the soul you have always been. And that soul is not weak. It is not lazy. It is not lost. It is waiting. Behind every excuse, behind every habit, behind every fear, for you to reclaim it. And when you do, when you take up the mantle of your own becoming, something magical happens. Life responds. The universe, as Cayce described, is not random. It is a field of living consciousness, and it reflects your vibration with stunning precision. This is why nothing changes until you do. Why every attempt to fix your life on the outside falls flat if the inside remains chaotic. So begin with discipline, not as a burden, as a conversation. What are you telling the universe with how you live? What are you declaring with your routine, your rituals, your reactions? Because every act of discipline is a statement. I am ready. Ready to lead myself. Ready to serve something higher. Ready to embody the sacred order that lives within every star, every cell, every soul. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming someone deeper. Cayce never asked anyone to be perfect. He asked them to remember who they were beyond the confusion, beyond the karma, beyond the forgetfulness of incarnation. And what you are, underneath the fatigue and the doubt, is divine. You are not just a seeker of destiny. You are its architect. So build. Build the morning with intention. Build the body with nourishment. Build the mind with clarity. Build the relationships with presence. Build your time with reverence. Build your emotions with wisdom. And build your life, not for comfort, not for applause, but for alignment with that high inner voice that has been whispering to you since before you were born. That voice knows your path. It knows the way. And it is waiting, not for you to be perfect, but for you to become consistent. Not for you to feel ready, but for you to act with faith. Not for you to chase destiny, but for you to train for it, like the soul warrior you were always meant to be. And that training starts with discipline, because discipline is not the path to destiny. Discipline is destiny, in action, in breath, in devotion. The life you can see is real, but it is hidden inside the version of you that you have not yet disciplined yourself to become. And when you do, not if, but when, the world will shift, the energy will rise, the vision will crystallize, and your destiny will no longer be a distant light. It will be the fire inside your bones. Not someday, but now. There is no force more underestimated in the modern world than quiet, consistent effort. And yet it is this, more than talent, timing, or even belief, that turns visions into reality. Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't shout. It doesn't crave praise. It works in silence beneath the surface, carving deep into the soul, laying foundations that storms cannot shake. This is why most people quit, because the rewards of discipline are delayed. They aren't packaged in dopamine hits or external applause. They come in whispers, the subtle expansion of inner strength, the deepening of peace, the stillness of knowing you are becoming who you were meant to be. Cayce's readings often return to this core truth. Your outer world is the outpicturing of your inner condition. What is manifest began as thought, became emotion, and finally took form through action or inaction. If you want a different life, don't beg the universe to intervene. Train yourself to become the vessel through which divine intention flows. Because here's the deeper mystery. Discipline is not just about effort, it is about alignment. When your actions match your ideals, you are no longer in resistance to your own soul. You move with life instead of against it. You enter a current stronger than willpower alone. And from there, you are carried, not lazily, but powerfully, by the laws that govern this universe. Laws that Cayce described as universal, eternal, and exacting. Karma, for instance, is not punishment. It is correction. It brings back to you that which is unresolved, not to shame you, but to give you the opportunity to transcend it through choice, through discipline. The same behavior that created a karmic loop must be replaced with its spiritual opposite. Indulgence with self-mastery, avoidance with presence, chaos with structure. This is how karma is cleared, not by waiting, but by evolving. Discipline is spiritual alchemy. It transmutes weakness into wisdom, potential into power, ideas into incarnation. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, you send a signal, not just to the universe, but to your higher self. I am willing to change, willing to let go of the false identity I built to survive, willing to step into the unknown and build something holy with these hands. The world is not suffering from a lack of visionaries. It is suffering from a lack of builders, men and women who will rise each morning, not to chase a fleeting feeling, but to live in service to something higher than the self. To be one of them, you must stop waiting to feel like it. Discipline doesn't wait for motivation. It creates it. It builds energy through action. It teaches the body to obey the soul. It transforms routines into rituals, work into worship. Because every moment of resistance, every temptation to quit, every excuse to delay, is an invitation to remember who you truly are. You are not your fear. You are not your fatigue. You are not your failure. You are consciousness, eternal and divine, housed in temporary flesh, here on earth to remember its power. And that power is awakened not through a single flash of insight, but through the daily return to your truth. Through the decision, again and again, to keep going, even when the path is unclear, even when no one is watching, even when the results haven't come yet. Cayce warned against laziness of the mind and indulgence of the will. He urged seekers to create ideals, clear spiritual standards by which to measure every thought and act. Not goals, ideals, because goals are focused on outcomes. But ideals shape identity, and once you become the kind of person who lives according to a higher principle, not occasionally, but relentlessly, the goals take care of themselves. The world bends to the will of the soul that cannot be broken, not because it forces things, but because it no longer doubts its right to receive what it has earned through spiritual discipline. You can reach this place, but only if you stop negotiating with your lower nature. The part of you that wants to sleep in, the part that justifies procrastination, the part that says just this once to habits that steal your future. That voice is not you. It is the echo of every pattern you were sent here to transcend. And transcendence is not a moment, it is a process. It happens on the treadmill, at the desk, in the early hour of silence, in the refusal to argue, in the repetition of prayer, in the closing of one door and the choosing of another, again and again, until the former version of you is no longer accessible. Discipline rewires your karma. It writes your destiny in real time. It is not about repression, it is about expression. The conscious, focused, sacred expression of your soul's highest truth. And that truth is not small. It is not average. It is not afraid. It is here to create, to love, to rise, to remember. And if you want to walk that path, if you want to live the life your soul envisioned before you were born, there is only one way to it. Discipline. Not punishment, but devotion. Not force, but clarity. Not grind, but grace. Because when you begin to show up fully, to live as though your time on earth matters, the universe responds in kind. It opens doors. It sends allies. It removes illusions. It accelerates your unfolding. Not because you are lucky, but because you are ready. This is the secret Cayce pointed to over and over again. Read the signs, listen to your dreams, train your mind, align with your spiritual ideal, and then live deliberately, beautifully, consistently, in a way that honors the divine within you. Do this not once, but daily, and one day, without needing proof, without needing validation, you'll look around and realize, this is the life I saw. This is the life I built. This is the destiny I trained for, not by chance, but by choice. Discipline is destiny, and you have always had the power to build a life you can see. Now it's time to live it.